You're listening to the Coop Homeschool Podcast.
This is your podcast for community, humility, and joyful fun in homeschooling. I'm Mandy.
I'm Jessica.
And this is The Coop.
Today we're talking about spring traditions.
Ooh, I'm excited for spring.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about theme days, the traditions your house and my house have, some fun ideas to maybe incorporate into new traditions.
Awesome.
Yeah, but before we start, let's check out the scoop on the coop.
Okay, it's a glitter explosion in here. There's glitter in the cracks in between the floor planks, and it's because while I'm vacuuming my girls' room, they're playing with glitter here. But I do love that they feel free access to use our craft supplies. And I was telling the spouse that even though inside I was like, oh man, it's not coming up with vacuuming, it's not coming up with wet paper towels, Right. So it felt like the social media thing where that woman is putting laundry away, and right next to her is her toddler taking the laundry out of the drawers. So
I had that feeling.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's pink everywhere.
Yeah. Well, have you checked the bottom of your feet yet?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sure it's throughout the house now, too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. So my husband and I went on a really small road trip the other day to go to a campground to help out my mother-in-law. And on that road trip, we were discussing the fact that we haven't done a road trip and that we need to.
Well, hello, COVID.
Exactly. And yeah, so COVID kind of foiled our trip to Colorado last fall. And so we're hoping to be able to do it this fall. And he didn't want to wait that long. He's impatient and wants to get something on the schedule. So we started talking about it, and we talked about a few smaller road trips that would be an easy weekend. And then we kind of settled on, maybe we just go camping somewhere local, explore places that we don't normally go, or take the kids to the places that are near and dear to us that they haven't been yet. Mm-hmm. So we have some ideas. And our first one's on the calendar for mid-March.
Oh,
yeah,
awesome.
Yeah. So hopefully on the spring equinox.
You'll have to tell me how the weather is, how cold it gets at night, since we are both tent campers.
Yeah, it should be fine. Usually it's in the 50s, which is doable at night.
As long as I don't have to see my breath, because I have camped and I saw my breath, and I was nursing on a deflated blow up. It was, I almost just crawled into the van.
Right. That's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. So that's why we were waiting until late winter, really early spring. But that's what's nice about Southern California is that it's not impossible to camp in the deserts. I just want to be more comfortable at night.
Totally.
But as a kid, I did it all winter.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. From October through April.
It builds grit.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that's our scoop. Let's talk some spring traditions. So the spring equinox is on Saturday the 20th. So that should be this coming Saturday.
How fun. And you know what? That's a good time to have a party or a family party, especially being a Saturday. The spouses can be there for it.
Exactly. And what I love so much about the spring equinox is that you really see the season lead up to it. You see winter. From the first day of winter all the way through the spring equinox, the days are getting longer. It's just, for me, it's totally telling the story of how spring is coming and what's coming. So everything kind of goes dormant and cold for this little bit of time, at least here in Southern California. And then it leads into this beautiful springtime that we have. Yeah. My family doesn't personally do much on the actual spring equinox. We don't really mark the day and celebrate it in any way, but I do like to at least acknowledge it, and I'll mention to the kids, today's the first day of spring, and just kind of enjoy that for what it is. Mm-hmm. But it's a perfect day for any kind of theme day.
Mm-hmm. Well, seasons and time and traditions of other countries. Like, I'm pretty sure Sweden does something. My old boss used to talk about that.
Interesting.
So, yeah. So maybe a good time to do a country study and
totally,
or see what other traditions are throughout the world, and
absolutely,
and then have the food from throughout the world.
Why not have that food in there too?
Make some flower crowns.
Right. So. Exactly. And so spring is just such a beautiful time for that, because really spring represents new beginnings, resurrection, and regrowth. And so flowers is such a wonderful thing to incorporate. And so that is one tradition that we do have, is in the spring, I always get at least once or twice flowers. And I get daffodils.
Oh, yeah.
And I get tulips.
Yeah.
Usually the white tulips to go with the yellow daffodils. They're kind of a sweet homage to my husband's granny, who passed away 10 years ago. And those are her favorite. And my sister-in-law and I were tasked to arrange them for her memorial. And so it was just something, they ended up coming home with me, and it was just kind of this beautiful tradition now that I have.
Do you get them from Trader Joe's, or where do you get them?
Yeah, they have the best daffodils.
And they have the best deal. It's like $3, $2.99 for like a huge bunch of them.
Right, and I usually get 2 bunches, and I have a couple of vases throughout the house, and it's just fun. It's a really great way for me and my husband to share the memory of his granny with the kids.
You know, what I would love to, I tried this last year. We planted tulips in our painted pots, and we planted like 2 or 3 bulbs in November, I think it was, October and November. And then they did start sprouting in January, February.
Yeah.
And then we forgot about them and didn't water them. And so they only came up like probably 4 inches and then never blossomed, opened or anything. But I wish I could get it on my schedule to do that kind of thing. Yeah. So then when, you know, like I always want to plant pumpkins every year, but by the time I remember, it's past.
It's done.
Yeah.
I know.
So, yeah.
It has to become your winter tradition to actually plant for spring.
Right.
Yeah, that's the challenge. But spring's a great time to throw out wildflower seeds in the backyard. You know, if you just want those native wildflowers to you. I mean, it's as simple as going to Home Depot and grabbing a pack for a couple dollars. And it's pretty easy to do. Yeah. So that's a great option just for flowers that you don't have to maintenance too much. But yeah, I can't grow anything to save my life, so I don't try.
No, I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that about me too.
Right. Right. Exactly. So other ideas for a spring theme day or for fun spring traditions would be to create something. You know, what is more about regrowth and new beginnings than creating. So whether you get out the glitter and the art and create something, that's such a great opportunity.
Well, it's a great opportunity to do a plant study, right?
Absolutely.
And then there's this book called Gardening Lab, which I mentioned before. You make your own compost and you get the worms and you put them in, and you just use like a plastic shoe bin that you would use for Operation Christmas Child or whatever. And they have all these really cool things, painting pots and so you're creating with earth and with gardening things.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's really cool. So nature studies are definitely a really great opportunity to kind of work into the school year and to really improve kind of the connection that we all have with nature.
Well, and we had a friend who, she did a whole year-long nature study called Exploring Nature with Children.
Yeah.
And they really pay attention to the seasons.
Yes.
So if that piques your interest, check out Exploring Nature with Children.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like a neat way to kind of get in there. There's adding literature.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so if your kids love Peter Rabbit, that's a great one to bring out. You know, just like with Christmas and Christmas time, there are certain things that we save only for that season. And so why not make that a tradition for spring? Is bring out certain books. Yeah.
Yeah. And even the movie.
Absolutely. Bring out certain things just for spring because those are the traditions. That's when it's relevant.
No, I love that. Yeah, I don't really have much in the way of spring traditions. So this is actually really inspiring to me.
Yeah. It's really fun. I mean, I don't have a lot of serious ones, but it's just fun to kind of see what comes up in springtime. Yeah,
it's fun.
And then music, just like holiday music, there's also plenty of spring music. I mean, just Antonio Vivaldi alone has 3 movements about spring.
That's true.
Right. So I have a link for you guys. So if you go to our website, thecoophomeschool.com/podcast, you can go check out my Spotify playlist. And some are movement songs, and so you and the kids can get up and start moving around if you feel compelled.
I feel like the San Francisco song, Are You Going?
Yes.
Like any of those like Flower Child, you know, type of songs would be really fun to do too. You could do a whole hippie study.
Totally. Yeah.
You know, just off the top of my head. You know?
Right. Or go focus on songs that discuss flowers.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great opportunity if you are doing a nature study and want to pair it with music and movement. go ahead and start as a seed. Curl up really small with your kids and imagine growing, imagine the water cycle happening to you as a plant and discuss all that stuff.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's a great way to learn kinesthetically. Another favorite of mine is bringing back poetry tea time, because there's something about having real flowers at your poetry tea time that just makes it so magical.
That's true.
And so it's such a great opportunity. I mean, again, we're SoCal people, SoCal natives, and many places grow flowers in greenhouses all year round. But if you're thinking about things that grow natively year round, flowers aren't one of them. They really come back in the springtime. And so it's a great opportunity to really go out and see what's newly bloomed and go get a bouquet that speaks to you and your family. Maybe read Peter Rabbit or read some beautiful poetry inspired by spring at your poetry tea time.
Yeah, I just realized I haven't had a poetry tea time since spring/early summer.
Right.
I mean, time is flying.
It is. Yeah.
So that would be really fun, like to kick it off March 20th, do a poetry tea time.
Yeah.
And then maybe say we'll do it weekly and you get to have scones each time.
Right.
For the next 4 weeks or something as the tradition. And then just save poetry tea time for that month or that time of year.
Yeah, that's super cool. So another idea that you kind of inspired me on was an act of kindness for spring. Giving should be all year round, all the time. And so here's another opportunity, but to make it spring related, deliver flowers to a friend. Go ding dong ditch your neighbors and bring them a bouquet. That's fairly COVID friendly.
Yeah, totally.
But it's just kind of a sweet thing to do, and it's not food.
Right.
That's always a challenge, is leaving friends food on their doorsteps and that kind of thing. So this is a way easier thing. And if they don't want the flowers, they can throw them in their backyard and it's no big deal.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, we had a really great experience doing that last year, because there's a flower farm about 20 minutes away. And they normally they're normally the supplier for florists.
Right.
And since nobody was having their weddings and events last year during COVID, they opened it up to be a U-Pick.
Right.
So, and they didn't even have a website. They only had a social media account on Instagram.
Right. And you heard from a friend who did it.
Yeah, I saw her post and I was like, where is this? And
we're going.
So, you show up, it's just this little shed.
Right.
And they said, bring your own clips. They did have a couple clippers there. And they said $5 for a bunch of flowers.
Great.
So that's, or $1 per sunflower when we went back like 2 weeks later.
Right.
And I can't remember. I think we delivered the sunflowers.
Yes,
okay.
you did.
So when we went back, I knew this time, I'm going to get a bunch of bunches and then deliver them. So I think I did maybe 4 or 5 deliveries. And it does take time. Like, it still took an hour and a half driving around and doing that. But the kids had fun. We would run up to the house and drop it there. So it was, and then I'd text them. As much as I'd love it to be they just happen upon it, I'd hate for them to open it and step on them. And
at my house, we never go in the front door. We always go in through the garage.
Yeah. So you still have to, text and or ring the doorbell and run and yeah. So that was really fun and a really neat thing to do. And then it was fun to pick them as well. So I asked them if they were doing it again this year, and they had said yes, that was their plan. So
nice.
I should check back and make sure, and that would be even a good coop group event.
Absolutely.
To go and do that together. Yeah.
And then another thought I had was calling local nursing homes. I don't know if they keep flowers just for allergens and other reasons. I know memory care patients, they have a hard time with flowers sometimes. They don't always know what they're for, what to do with them. They like to move them around. So depending on the nursing home or the facility, that might be a great thing to go and deliver.
Definitely.
And bring a lot of light and brightness to those patients.
And even to the people who work there.
Totally.
There's a lot of heartache for the people who work there as well, especially in memory care, where they develop relationships and then they're forgotten, right? So even if it was something where they give the family it when they come visit or something.
Right. If they're set aside for the families. Yeah, that's cute too.
So, I know. I love that idea.
Yeah. So incorporate some acts of kindness into your spring. I think we're going to.
Yeah.
And then that leads me to the big one, which is Easter. So Easter is the big holiday in spring. I mean, of course, there's Mother's Day and there's other things as well. Memorial Day is technically still spring, even though we all consider that summer, right? But it's not summer yet, according to the seasons. So Easter. I know I can speak for you as well, but our two families in our homes, we really focus on the resurrection. So that's kind of what we talk to our kids about. That's what we prepare their hearts for and kind of discuss. And it's fun that it's already naturally something that everyone around us and the culture and the community is already excited about. And so it's just a fun way for us to kind of remind our kids why for us.
Right.
You know? And so this year it's actually on Sunday, April 4th.
Oh.
Yeah. So, does that seem early or late to you? Or you just had no
sometimes
idea?
It's in March.
I know. Sometimes it's March.
I never know when it's going to be.
It felt really late. Maybe it was last year. I can't remember. I feel like it was really late last year because we ended up doing a Coop Group virtual Easter event.
Oh, we did? Was that our talent show?
No.
Oh, that was the Bingo Bunny?
No.
Oh.
Well, maybe.
What was it?
I don't know if we did that also. It may have been that week of Easter that we did a couple things because back at the beginning of coronavirus and the lockdown, we planned a whole bunch of really fun virtual events for March and April. And so we may have had multiple things. But the actual Easter one was I sent out clues for everyone to go send their kids on treasure hunts.
Yeah, that's cute.
And then we all did a craft kind of, we made flowers.
Yeah, I have that. I decorate the inside of my closet.
Yes.
So I have them actually in my closet. Aww. Yeah, it's really
cute. So what I had told everyone was just pick the mediums you want to use. You know, here's some ideas. And then pick what you want to use. So we ended up using like buttons and construction paper that she kind of, I think.
Cupcake holders. Cupcake holders, that's like the flower. And then you put the button in the middle.
Yeah.
And then like a pipe cleaner for a stem.
Yeah.
Of course, I had looked at stuff beforehand knowing we were going to do this to make sure I had some supplies there.
Right.
And then that was really their only option because, I mean, I didn't know how much stuff to put out.
Yeah, I had paints and all kinds of stuff. And my daughter kept it really simple and she was really happy with it. So that was really fun. So anyway, that was kind of our way of celebrating because we've had a tradition now for the last few years with our Coop Group to do an Easter egg hunt. But because I had a hard time reconciling that with my desire to keep my kids focus on the resurrection, we actually did a resurrection egg hunt. And so amongst the regular Easter eggs with either candies or toys, or actually mine mostly had like action words in them. So we did a bunch of action words and fun things and, you know, hop like a bunny 5 times backwards or, you know, quack like a duck.
Well, you also had ones that were the real egg shells that you had tapped
that was
and emptied and put the bird seed in. Yeah,
so because I wanted to be environmentally friendly, I didn't fill the empty eggs with confetti. I did bird seed. And so the kids are like throwing them at each other and I didn't feel too guilty about that.
Yeah, no.
Felt fine leaving that at the park.
Yeah, and what we figured out for our Coop Group is since some of us have a faith in the resurrection, and some of us don't, we figured out to do, and this was like 3 years ago when we figured out, or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
We said we wanted to do the resurrection eggs with them for those who want to do them.
Right.
So we said what time we were doing that. And then everything else for the hangout was after, including like a regular Easter egg hunt.
Exactly.
And so, which had the actions and stuff like that. So that was really cool.
It was really cool.
So then we still got to do the group, the Christian group setting, and then we also got to do the group setting with our whole Coop Group and have that community as well.
Yeah.
And form memories. And our kids probably didn't even notice who was there and wasn't there for the first part. It was just like, oh, those people came later.
Exactly.
So that's also, if you have a mixed group of people who might be more sensitive to things like that, you could always offer certain things to start off with and then do the rest after.
I find the more upfront you are, the easier it is. And so if I knew someone felt uncomfortable coming because there was a religious aspect to the event, there were ways to combat that to get the most participation and not have people feel like they couldn't come, because that's certainly not the the spirit
we would want
of
anyone
the
to come.
holiday.
Yeah, we'd want anyone to come, but we also don't want anyone to feel like an outsider while they're there because they don't agree with that belief.
Right. Or have their kids hear something they aren't ready to discuss with them.
Right.
You know, because we all as homeschool moms strongly believe that we should be the ones to talk to our kids. And so that's complicated when you're participating in a group that might be sharing information.
Yeah, and the first time
don't
your
wanna know
child
yet.
hears about God, you may not want it to be through the
resurrection.
resurrection eggs.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the resurrection eggs, real quick, because I forgot to let you know what those are in case you're not familiar. But there's different variations of doing it. But the idea is that inside these 12 eggs tells the story of the resurrection. So in each egg are just small little mementos to tell the story. So the purple cloth, the nails, so there were small little nails, rope, and all kinds of things. And then the last egg.
You even had thorns for the crown of thorns.
Yeah. There's a rock in there, the rock that covered the.
Oh, yeah. And then tell about it was so funny. One of the kids got an empty egg.
Yeah, my kid.
Okay. It was, and she was like, it's empty.
And I was like, that's the best egg.
Yeah, it's the empty tomb.
Right.
Yeah.
Jesus rose. He's not there. And she's like, no, that one's bad.
I don't have anything to take
But it
home
was
for
a
that.
great moment to teach about it and to be able to just express why it's so beautiful. I mean, some kids got a rock. You'd rather have a rock than nothing.
Yeah, my son, one of the times got a cross.
Yes.
Yeah, and so I still have that. It's like a little keychain cross.
Yeah. So what I ended up doing for the year after that was our very first year. And so I let the kids look for the resurrection eggs that I had made at a MOPS group, which is where I first heard of it. And
Which are wooden and
that
really
was
beautiful.
These ones were just plastic, the ones that we made at MOPS. Yeah. Okay. And then as the kids would shout out that they had one and which number it was, then we would read each little part of the resurrection story. Yeah. And so then the next year I had decided to have my daughter paint wooden eggs. So I bought them at Oriental Trading, and they have the flat bottom so that they sit up.
Oh, that's
so they
cool.
stand.
Yeah.
But the top is removable, and so we put new things in there. So she and I together built them, and that was the 2 years ago. And so that was when we kind of knew to let people know that we would do that aspect at a specific time. And so for that one, I just used mine on display, and then we went through the story, and then all the other eggs were out hidden on the field, and then they all went and found them. But
that's true.
I don't think anyone came to only one part of the event. I think in our personal group, people either came or they didn't. I don't think anyone
there
avoided.
were people who show up later.
Oh, there. Yeah, I didn't remember that. Anyway,
but one more thing about the resurrection eggs.
Yeah.
So one thing my church did last year, because it was COVID, is they delivered a box for each child who was already part of the youth group. Like you sign up, so they know like you want to engage in that way. It's not just random people, you know. So they dropped off these boxes that had the 12 empty eggs, and then they had Bible verses you could put in for each one, and then the picture for the item. And so then you would put that in there. So they got to make their own resurrection eggs.
Cute.
And then the spouse and I went and hid the resurrection eggs for each person in a different spot. So one was down by the swings, one was up here on the driveway area, one was in the orange trees, So they each got to search for their own eggs and then open them again and then get the prices out that way.
That they already knew.
Yeah. But it was like a two-parter, so that was kind of fun.
That is really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So our Coop group has an Easter tradition. And so that's what we've done the last few years. Last year it was virtual. But one thing I always looked forward to making for that was my carrot cake cookies.
Oh, I don't think I tried that.
Because we didn't have them last year.
Okay. And I'm not a carrot cake person, so I would have not. Now, if you had brought your bread pudding, I would have had that.
It's harder to bring to a park, though.
I know.
The carrot cake cookies are a little easier.
That's true.
But they're delicious, and then they're topped with cream cheese frosting.
Oh, yeah. I'll lick them then.
No, I'm telling you, Jake eats them. I don't put raisins in them.
Okay.
You don't taste the carrots. They're all shredded up. They're actually really delicious.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll like them then.
Yeah. I'm surprised you didn't try one. Anyway.
Yeah.
You and all the kids.
I love sugar, but I pick my sugar.
Yeah, that's true. But the cream cheese frosting also makes it for sure. So that's one recipe that I would definitely say has become a tradition of ours is the carrot cake cookies. My husband, when he remembers about them, he says, "Why haven't you made those yet?"
Oh, that's cool.
I said, "Wait for Easter."
Yeah, so that's cool because now I have a fall tradition of making a pie.
Yep.
That'd be cool to have some kind of food
you
tradition.
have to find something that speaks to your
I
family.
mean, of course, I always buy the cake cookies at the Albertsons at the grocery store, but
That's why these are good. They're
Yeah.
like doughy like that. Not doughy is the right word, but
like
fluffy.
Fluffy,
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's see. That kind of wraps up everything I wanted to say.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah. Any other traditions that you have or anything for springtime?
No, I mean that's the sad part of it. Like we do so much for Christmas, right? We and fall even,
Right.
But spring's kind of left out in the cold. I know our house growing up was always decorated, and we'd always have an Easter get together with. We had bunnies all over the house, you know,
cute.
and we would always have a family get together. And we usually go play like softball at the nearby park, and that was always fun. But that was basically it.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we'd go. Oh, we'd always do a tea,
spring tea.
Yeah,
spring
in
common,
April.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then Mother's Day is
Yeah.
in May, and so yeah.
Yeah, I used to do a tea with my mom and one of my best friends and her mom every year in April.
That's so cool.
So that was always really
Yeah.
fun.
And then your husband, your son, and I all have spring birthdays.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so I don't know how your men feel about it, but I love springtime. I don't know if it's also fun because it's my birthday.
Yeah,
or
that adds to it.
I think it just adds to it. It's just really fun. So springtime is definitely my favorite season of all, hands down.
How fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, those are our spring traditions and the ones that we hope to build.
Yeah, sounds great.
Let's get some of your joys from the week.
Okay, so we're taking a trip around the world. I've been talking about this because it is actually going for a very long time.
Right.
It was only 5 countries, but we seem to only be ticking off 1 or 2 countries per week, so it's spanning a lot more time than I thought. But what I love is they keep sharing with others, oh, we're taking a trip around the world right now.
That's cute.
Whether it's my mom or like a friend they were on Zoom with, they're like, oh, well, we're taking a trip around the world and we just went to blah, blah.
That's really cute.
Yeah, and so then just today, one of them was messenger kids with my mom and was like, oh, tonight we had Japanese food because we went to Japan today. And it's just
cute.
It's just really cute that if I wasn't doing that, they wouldn't be talking about their math or their words or anything,
they don't just share about that.
Yeah. So
it's fun for them, enriching.
Yeah, and that's fun for me that it's actually something they want to report to somebody. That brings me joy. What about you?
Awesome. Let's see. So Sophia, we have been having to work through some anxieties with her. And so without going too deep into it, she was able to really overcome something that seemed like a big roadblock to her, related to dance. And so it was really neat for her to be able to share about it, to express her feeling, and then to be able to be willing to hear our input and feedback, consider her options, and then make an educated decision.
That's great. What a life skill.
Yeah, it was, I was sweating it because, it came down to her wanting to consider quitting dance, which is it doesn't have to be permanent, but it's a very big decision. And so that was a bit of a challenge, and it came down to she was just anxious about one particular aspect. And so we worked through it, and she's fine with that and wants to keep dancing at least another season. So
that's great.
Here we are. Yeah. So that brings my heart joy. I don't anticipate either of my kids loving dance the way that I do or being connected to it the way that I am. But I do love that we have it together. We go to the studio together, we go to shows and get ready for performances together. And so it's a really special thing that I have.
Yeah.
And so I would a little bit mourn her not being there with me. However, I would never put that on her.
Yeah. Well, and it's so good for their brain and for their body and everything. But also, sometimes you don't know how much you love something until you give it up, and then you grieve it. And then it's never the same. Right. So it's especially the older you get and the longer you've been in something, it's a much bigger decision.
She's worked really hard, and she's definitely at that age and skill level that if she takes a break, she could fall behind her friends.
Right. And then she wouldn't be in the same class as them, and then it wouldn't hold the same spark for her.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. And so I didn't want to put all of that on her, but it was just, she had to just figure out if this thing, her roadblock, was too much or not. And she got past it.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. And the bigger lesson is the decision making and the pros and cons, or however,
to sit there and analyze the situation and not just be caught up in your anxieties or emotions and not be able to think through it.
Yeah, to be able to isolate the variable, basically, if you want to say it that way, to find out what your barrier is, and then if you can open that door, then
big stuff. My mature girl.
Oh,
crazy. Yeah. All right.